Yo, YouTubers, how you doing? You alright? Right guys, I did a speech called "All races and creeds are equal. I am an Earthling." And when I put the pause button on, just before I uploaded it, I realised I had a couple more things to say and I'd forgot all about it, right? So, back in black and white again to complete this speech, because if you've got a, if you've got a black and white TV license, it makes it feel worthwhile, doesn't it? You got, even if you use a computer or watch BBC, on iPlayer or anything like that, or on your phones, they made it so you've got to have a TV license. I had to buy a weekly card to pay for my TV license because I just wasn't giving the Queen an excuse to take me to court. Give me another fine that goes into their back pockets anymore. So I thought, I've got a new TV, I'm going to pay for the license as well. It's only a £5 a week. What difference does it make? But it stops them hounding me to get me like. I advise everyone else, but is it word of advice, guys? Just get a black and white license. They still sell them, believe it or not, but I don't know if you'd be able to find black and white tellies anywhere anymore. Or do you just get a colour telly and turn the colour off? Like, you know what I mean? What do you do? But anyway, this is in black and white, so it's cheaper, you see. It's cheaper. Well, I'm in black and white anyway. Sepia, what's it called? Monochrome again, like a magpie, I suppose. So this is actually part 2 anyway, part 2 to my all races and creeds are equal. I am an Earthling. That's not to say that we might not have, all of us, at some point in our history, our bloodlines, we might have spent some time on Mars. But that's another speech, guys. That's something I've already covered on my old channel. Well, I've got a lot of stuff to speak about Mars and the moon and things, you see. Well, I think we all came from Mars. I think the place was destroyed in a colossal, like it was an end of world scenario. It was once a world, and it was an end of world scenario. All the stuff that's happening on Earth today was happening on Mars once upon a time. A major theory of mine is, the way the Earth has got one moon, and I know I'm flying off on a tangent here, guys, but just an interesting fact, a taster for like speeches to come, when I'm going into more details, fascinating things, about reptoids and snakes and all that, like. But yeah, our moon, our actual moon, and our Earth, if the moon went crazy or went out of orbit or was hit by something, the tides on the Earth would go crazy, wouldn't they? There'd be floods, floods, all kinds of mad stuff. All the food chains would be messed up and everything. Yeah, just go and check out Mars's moons, right, guys? They're called Phobos and Deimos, right? And we're sort of deceived by that. There's Phobos and Deimos, the two moons, yeah. That was one moon once upon a time, guys, and that was hit by something, and it was smashed in half. And that's why you look at all the other moons in the solar system, right, including Io and, Rhea and all those moons, I forgot the names of them, I just can't be bothered, you know what I mean? But they're all, including the moon of Pluto, that they found recently, they've gone close up to Pluto and realised it actually is a kind of, there's a moon. They're all spherical, they're all perfect spheres. The physics of the solar system speaks for itself. The uniformity of it all, the heliocentric solar system, which we're all confined to because they put it into our heads in school, don't they, guys? They go, this is the solar system, there's the sun, and there's Mercury, and there's blah, 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 blah. Now, everyone rotates out. We're all forced into it from school, whether we like it or not. It's heliocentric, it's Helios, it's Helios worship, right? That's just the way it is, yeah. But anyway, Mars did have one moon once upon a time, and it looks like why aren't the two moons of Mars perfect spheres? That's a good question, isn't it, guys? Why aren't the two moons of Mars perfect spheres like our moon and all the other moons? They're all perfectly spherical. Whereas the two moons of Mars, two moons, they've been smashed. It's something, you know, over the years. It was smashed in half. All life on Mars died, on the surface anyway. I don't know what's underneath there, guys. I don't know what's underneath the surface, you know what I mean? I could tell you, but I don't know what to say anymore, you know, I don't know how far to go, like. But those moons look like potatoes, don't they? They're not spherical at all. They're too irregular to be classed as perfect moons, aren't they? And there's no water, there's no tides or whatever going on Mars anymore. It's all been messed up, it's gone forever. Same's going to happen to this planet if people don't listen to what's being said. But anyway, back to the subject matter. All races and creeds are equal. We all came from Mars at one point. I'm sure the seeds of life were sent to Earth to start again. So we've all got our sort of Martian past in us, you know what I mean? But anyway, it depends on whether we want to be like that, isn't it? Like Romans. I always remember that. Remember that cartoon years ago, guys? I know I'm flying off on tangents here, but I know. I waffle, you know what I mean? But I always remember the Bugs Bunny cartoon years ago, and you know the way Bugs Bunny has always got an adversary of some kind who is trying to do him in, like Elmer Fudd the Hunter, or the big red Valentine shaped monster, and you know, he's always got an adversary, hasn't he? And I always remember the one with the little Martian fella, and he looks like a Roman soldier, you know what I mean? And he was always on Mars looking through a telescope trying to work out how to destroy Earth. Now that is, some of them cartoons, guys, are so real. If you know, like clues giving you clues, it's beyond belief. And we've seen that as children. I used to think the Looney Tunes cartoons were hilarious, you know what I mean? But they changed them, didn't they? And they went crap, like the Tom and Jerry cartoons, you know. They're just drawings, they're just cartoons, you know what I mean? But I always remember the little Martian guy looking through the telescope, like, how can I destroy Earth, you know what I mean? And Bugs Bunny was always standing in his way, wasn't he? You know what I mean? It's quite funny, really. But anyway, back to the subject matter. Back to Earth, right? In the last speech about the races and creeds, I went on about how, you know, I see the world family as being racialist, and they sow the seeds of racialism because they are Roman Empire, right? That the Roman Empire basically dressed up in new uniforms. You know, when I was a kid, I used to think Romans were amazing. Do you know what I mean? I used to think they were like the dog's bollocks of intelligence and all that stuff, like. But that's because of our education. That's because of the way it was rammed into our heads from the heliocentric solar system, being rammed into our heads straight away. Like, once it's in our imagination, in our, you know, we look at the blackboards and all those things. We're gone, aren't we? The only way out is isolation and sitting on a mountain for 3 days or something. Do you know what I mean? But the royal family are fascists, right? They are fascists, and they're very racialist as well. And I got like a question a lot of people say to me. You know, when I said that someone would say to me, oh, all these foreign people are everywhere and all that kind of stuff, and say, oh, they're getting more and more. And think about the war that happened recently, guys. It wasn't started by us, the people on the ground. It wasn't started by the people in them countries, you know, like Syria and things like that. All that migrant stuff has been started by people like our governments, our royalty, or whoever they are, whoever is in charge, wanting the oil, you know, wanting control of all the oil fields. That's why there's migrants going into Europe who haven't got nowhere to go, including Germany, including Britain. You know, we're getting migrants going everywhere. It's not their fault, is it? But it's all because of the oil. We all know that, right? That's another, you know, subject in itself. Don't want to go into. But now we've got loads of people complaining now in all these places in Europe saying, oh, don't want these migrants coming here or there. And some of them are patsies, aren't they? Some of them migrants are being used as patsies. They've been recognised by the FBI or the CIA or MI6 or whatever as being such, like being troublemakers and stuff, and then but they're left alone to carry on doing things. That just doesn't add up, does it? You know, it's so that eventually the authorities can say, right, we've got more guns you know, the police can carry more guns and be more martial law. And it's heading Mars, you know, martial law, you know, where the whole earth is going to turn into Mars at some point again. It's going to be the same thing, you know. And Arnie will have to come and help us out, like, you know, say, I need your clothes, your boots on your motorcycle. Do you know what I mean? Arnie will have to come and help us again, like. But anyway, people say to me, like, they're everywhere, there's like Chinese folks here, there, and everywhere, there's Vietnamese folks, there's Indians, Asians. I'm not going to say the impolite words in this speech, guys. I just had to say it in the first one to tell you, you know, how stupid it sounds. You've got to realise how silly it sounds, right? Now, I've got a theory about, like, why we've got, you know, all those different people from different countries. I mean, let's face it, in the case of America, and in the case of England as well, Africans taken on slave ships, taken everywhere. I mean, I used to have a friend a while back, right, guys, and he used to have this mad flip-out thing going on about squirrels, you know, the grey squirrel that comes from America, overtaking the red squirrel. And that was because of slave ships and explorers and things like that, where they brought the grey squirrel over. The grey squirrel didn't, like, sit there in America going, like, we're going to go to this England and, you know, start trashing all the red squirrels and that, like. Do you know what I mean? They don't think of these things consciously. They are actually the same animal, really, you know, guys. Just the colour of it's another issue of colour, isn't it? They're like, you know, they look spectacular, red squirrels and all that, like, but there's not really much difference between them, really. A squirrel is a squirrel, really, you know what I mean? Just like dogs and sharks and all that, all the different breeds and styles and that. But they didn't come over of their own accord, did they, them grey squirrels? They were brought over on ships and things, you know. It's because of Captain Cook and all them lot, like, and Amerigo and all those explorers all going from one place to the other. So not their fault, is it? Then you've got your slave ships taking black folks, you know, Africans, all over you've obviously seen the story of roots and things like that, which isn't very nice. It's not, you know, this is nothing to do with the Asians or, you know, this is Africa. Do you know what I mean? Right? And as times pass by, right, of course these guys are going to settle down wherever they're taken and start, like, you know, what's the word? Reproducing, you know, having families and continuing. What choice have they got? What choice have the squirrels got? What are we supposed to do, like? Do you get me? Like, so it's absurd for us even to start, like, going mad about foreign people being in our town, or, oh, I've lived here all my life and I'm not letting no one take over my street, right? But you've got to take this into consideration. This is my prime excuse or reason for why I think we in our own lands are all being surrounded by what we would call foreigners. I don't call them foreigners myself. I think we're all Earthlings. Like I say, I'm an Earthling and they're all Earthlings, you know what I mean? And there's plenty of space on Earth, really. Like I say, I look around my room here, I'm still not being hounded and crowded. I spend most of my time on my own, actually, you know what I mean? And I actually like it, like. Well, you know, I don't see any overcrowding or someone, you know, hey, that's my cup, I'm using that. Hey, that's my plate. Hey, that's my chair. I've got plenty of space here, mate, and I'm a poor person, remember, I'm not a millionaire. I can't just go off and, you know, buy Richard Branson's mansion in Barbados or whatever. They got struck by lightning and all that stuff, like. But here's my theory on why there are, you know, if any fascists are going to be watching this video, I'll try and be quick, because in the last video it paused after, you know, I don't know if you watched it on YouTube, it freezes for some strange reason, I don't know why. It's when I upload straight from the camera to my computer without rendering it, you know, through any of the thingy, so it just freezes for no reason. I don't know why that happens, guys. Honestly, I don't put a pause button on and off, and like, well, where you're watching it, it might not freeze, but it freezes when I watch it all, because I watch all my vids to make sure they go, you know, they're not tampered with or anything. But this is my spin on why Why? You can go through London, and basically, I mean, Liverpool is a multiracial city. I think it's brilliant, a multicultural city. I think Liverpool's a brilliant city. It's because it's nowhere near as we haven't got, you know, here in Merseyside, we haven't got our heads up our arses like those in London and down south. If you don't believe me, right, come to Merseyside, right, and get on the train in Liverpool on the underground. You know, they're just the local underground station, not Lime Street to Manchester or Lime Street to London and that. I mean, on our little, the equivalent of the London Underground, which is ridiculously huge, guys, you know what I mean, because it is a city, it is central of the Roman Empire, isn't it, really? It's Babylon in our modern day world, is London, is Babylon, I don't care, Babby London, you know, it's Babylon, right? Now, I've been on the trains in London, on the underground. I've been, you know, I've been to Putney Station and all. I had to go for an audition once. That was when I first experienced it for myself, when I went for an audition. And I had to go to Putney, made my way from Euston Station to Putney somehow. And I couldn't believe the difference in their trains and our trains, you know, in Liverpool. You go on a train, Liverpool, okay, when it's 9 o'clock in the morning or when everyone's going to work, it's quite busy, yeah. But it's nowhere near like London. It's ridiculous in London. It's because they've bitten off, you know when they say you've bitten off more than you can chew? That's what's happened with London. It's a greedy city, it's a corporate state, and it's greedy. And it's all about raking in profit and money. Even the royal family do it, don't they? They've got their own businesses and things. So it's all about business and money, right? Liverpool is more of a real cultural city, in my opinion. It's sprung out by, you know, the Irish and the Welsh and the English kind of merging together. And then the fact that Liverpool's a dock and people come over on the ships and everything, and there's exchange and all that. And there was the slave trade as well in Liverpool, do you get me? All of Britain was bringing slaves over and stuff, which is wrong, you know what I mean? So that's why you got like the Afro-Caribbean and the African kind of communities emerging all around us, the Rastas and things. I'm most welcome, I don't mind whatsoever. Never had any complaints myself, guys, you get me? I actually buzz off it. I love the multicultural vibe in Liverpool, I think it's excellent. In London, it's weird, man. You go on the trains and, well, people push you out the way and everything. You're just like, you're like a statue while you're in London on the underground compared to Liverpool. Just go on Merseyrail trains in Liverpool and the Wirral and Merseyside, and you'll see the space is different because we're not greedy bastards like to the extent that the London is, you know. Further up north you go, the more nicer people get. That's what I say, like. But here's my spin on it. You know how diamonds are so important in the world, and if they're not important, guys, why do they cost so much? Why do the rich folks, you know, say a diamond the size of, like, see this lens, this is just a lens, right, guys, but you see the size of it in my hand, that's a piece of glass basically, right? If that was a diamond, I would be literally, say, £10 million in my pocket basically. It's just a piece of glass, so it's worthless, right? Now what do you have in the royal, you know, the crown jewels? You got like the Star of Africa, the Star of India. Notice what they're all called, like they're named after the places where they rooted the stones from, right? And I'm into stones, I'm into gems, I'm into mineralogy and geology and stuff like, right? I know that when inside stones there are microcosms. It's like the North American Indians are partial to turquoise, right, guys? Turquoise is their kind of gemstone of choice. A turquoise. If you go to America and you meet any Indians on Indian reservations and everything, they'll have a turquoise beads there, or a wristband with turquoise, or a neck thing with turquoise. You know, if you go to the Orient, it's the Orient and Mexico and them kinds of places where the sort of Indo-Chinese, their chosen stone is the jade, right, guys? Yeah, the jade. The green version of the turquoise is jade, right? And if you go into places like Afghanistan and Middle East, their stone is the lapis lazuli, the blue stone. Like the picture I've got behind me, it's meant to be a lapis lazuli. It's in black and white at the moment, but you'll see on other videos, you can see it's a lapis lazuli meant to be thingy. Yeah, but they're not essentially precious stones. They're what we call semi-precious. They're not worth millions of pounds. You know what I mean? You go and have a look at any of those guys, any of those tribal people in Afghanistan or North American Indians and like, you know, the Indo-Chinese and the Orient. It's jade, turquoise and lapis. You know, the Egyptians, the most precious stone in Egypt was lapis lazuli or lapis lazuli. I don't know how you pronounce it, but you know, lapis, right? So it's like, that's just like, they're like pebbles compared to diamonds, aren't they? Do you understand what the royals are into? Do you ever see the Queen with like a lapis lazuli on, or a jade, or a piece of turquoise? It's always a big fucking diamond, or a pair of fucking rubies, or sapphires, or emeralds. It's always them top, you know, the top fucking... Sorry about my language, guys. You know, the diamond realm where it's like the harder stones, you know, the corundums or the sapphires and the rubies, emerald, and then on top of the shop, number one in the hardness is diamonds, right? And the reason they're so obsessed with diamonds in particular is that they're literally stargates. Diamonds contain, like, a kind of dimension in themselves. Think about the name diamonds. Diamond. Dimensions. Right. Now, if they weren't so important to the royals and people like that, or the wealthy, right, pop stars, rock stars, will.i.am, people like that, you know, people who were always on our TVs, who were like, obviously in the bling, as we call it, bling, you know, really rich. Every one of them's investing in diamonds, you know, guys. That's what they're all sitting on lately, is like, you know, I mean, the kind of diamonds that we cannot buy. Right, and the reason being, why do you think they're so important to them? Because inside the portals, right, guys, they're like, I mean, if you give a girl you know, a token of love, if you meet a woman you're going to marry her, what do you give them? You give them a sapphire or a ruby, an emerald or a diamond, don't you? Unless you can't afford it, you get cubic zirconia or, you know what I mean, or synthetic stones, right? Of course, the royals and people like that, they won't, you know, they're all into the real stuff, right? And in the royal, in the crown jewels, and remember, the Queen doesn't necessarily have to wear any of this stuff or anything. It's there, surrounded by soldiers, people who the taxpayers pay to keep an eye on these things. So they go, oh, we don't want anyone robbing any of these stones and gold and diamonds and stuff, all these jewels and the scepter, and the largest diamond on the planet is that stone in the scepter, isn't it? The largest cut diamond at the moment, right? Star of India or Star of Africa, I can't remember. But Africa, India, ring any bells to any racialists out there? Africa, India. Not like the Star of London or the Star of Manchester or the Star of, like, you know, Essex or whatever. Like, stars of Africa, India, Burma, all those places where the British Empire's gone out looting and basically digging up as much stones and gold as they possibly can to make up their wealth, to put it all in bank vaults and all that kind of stuff. Right, so if all these stones are all taken from those countries, right, guys, think about what the Bible says, the meek, meaning poor folks, right, guys, the meek will inherit the earth. Right, so you think about this, right, there's all these stones in a place called Buckingham Palace, which from aerial view looks like a flipping Roman villa. If you look at the architectural design of Buckingham Palace, it's got a delta at the front door, you know, with the columns and everything. And if you look at it from above, the courtyard is in the middle, which is very Roman villa design. You know, like Hadrian's villa was probably like that by the what's it called, Hadrian's Wall near Carlisle and stuff like.